Stocks rise on Wall Street as the two-day Fed meeting gets underway. The central bank is expected to keep rates unchanged, but concerns of rates remaining higher for longer also rise as inflation remains persistent. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific trade mixed despite a positive handover from Wall Street. The Gift Nifty is also suggesting a higher start for the Indian market. Oil prices surged to multi-month highs. Brent trades above $87 a barrel on worries over Russian supplies as Ukraine steps up attacks on Russian oil infrastructure. Cryptocurrencies continue to correct, with Bitcoin falling below $63,000 after hitting record levels above $73 last week. Speaking at the Rising Bharat Summit, veteran investor Ramesh Damani says he remains bullish on India and expects PSU stocks prices to be even higher than at present. He does not see markets being in a bubble and says that while there is always froth in the market, it gets corrected. Convergent Finance's Harsha Raghavan also advises investors to double down on the India story. Visa is bullish on India and expects growth over the next 40 years, says global CEO Ryan McNary. He's also optimistic on generative AI, says Visa is looking to invest in generative AI startups in India. That's an exclusive. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra and you're watching Power Breakfast. Well, we do have a lot of cues to talk about. The headlines, they spoke about a lot of things as well. We'll discuss them in greater details. But first up, as always, let's take a look at the Asian markets. It was a strong handover that we got from the Wall Street. The Fed meet is underway. However, the Asian picture is quite mixed. So we have the Taiwanese index, which is up around 63 points as we speak. The Hang Seng, though, is down 28 points. We do have the Shanghai also, which is in the red, but the likes of Kospi, be it Straits Times, all of them are in the green right now. The Gift Nifty, that will come up for you on the screen, and that one is indicating that the start for our own markets could be mildly in the green. A 24-point uptick is what the implied open is suggesting, and it would come after the sharp fall that we saw in our own markets yesterday. Let's talk about the US markets now, because Wall Street ended higher as the Dow Jones advanced 320 points, notching its best day since February 22nd. The S&P 500 rose roughly 0.6%, while the Nasdaq Composite added about 0.4%. The Fed is broadly expected to keep interest rates unchanged at the conclusion of its two-day policy meeting on. However, investors anticipate that the central bank will start lowering rates in June. Some investors are concerned that a recent spate of hot inflation reports could result in even fewer cuts than markets are anticipating. In fact, CNBC's Steve Leisman is here with a preview of what we can expect.
Suggesting a year with a little bit more growth, a greater chance of a soft landing, but maybe somewhat less easing from the Fed. Here are the Fed expectations from the survey. 100% see no cut in March, 100% see no cut in May, 59% see that first cut in June of 2024. 52% see a soft landing. That's the first time we've been over 50% and up from 47 in January. 460, call it, is the year-end 2024 funds rate, right in line with the Fed. And January 2025 is when the Fed would end quantitative tightening, up from November in the past survey, so a little bit later than previously forecast. Forecasters have settled into an outlook for cuts every other meeting. You can start that. You can see that in the graph there. Starting in June, the percentage goes up, down, up, down. That's how they fit three in, with that 75% in December would be the last cut. Maybe that's Powell skirting around the election right there. There was concern, especially in the survey, that Fed officials at this meeting could forecast just 2 cuts in their new projections as compared with 3 in the Fed's December outlook. Guy Labash, chief fixed income strategist at Janney Montgomery Scott, said the last 2 months of slightly elevated inflation readings have slammed the door on rate cuts. At the moment, there is a high probability the dot plot will include 2 rate cuts in 2024. The QT timeline, it was lengthened. August 2024 is when the Fed is expected to announce that it'll be done reducing its balance sheet. January 2025 is when it will end it, and it'll bring it down by about $1 trillion on the balance sheet or total, and then bank reserves would come down by about $700 billion to $2.9 trillion. That's the expectation in the market right now. Risks overall seem balanced. The Fed will cut too late. 50% are most worried about that. The Fed cutting too soon. 46% worried about about that. And those results kind of echo what Fed Chairman Powell has been saying and probably is going to say tomorrow about the risk being balanced between the inflation and the employment goals. The question for equity markets, Joe, in the months ahead, just one of the questions, obviously, if inflation remains high, is better growth a good enough offset for what may be less Fed easing than previously thought?
Okay, all right, let's stay with the US markets and listen into some market opinion coming in from Morgan Stanley's Ellen Zettner.
We go into this meeting and forget that we got great news on the labor market, where this concern that you were going to have this runaway job gains, right? We had a lot of downward revisions, which kind of evened that out. And then you get into the inflation data. And actually, if you dig into it for exactly what the Fed is focused on, there was a very big reversal in core services, ex-housing, after January. But it certainly doesn't tell you that you're wrong yet on the reacceleration in inflation being temporary. And so I think that this is going to be a meeting that there's much less fanfare about at the end of the day when the dust settles. I think we trim the low dots, we trim the high dots, we bring the committee closer together, but we still end up with a 3-cut median.
Okay, all right, that will be the big event we'll be tracking very closely, the Fed meet outcome tonight. But time for a short break now. When we return, we'll tell you how all these global market cues will impact our own markets on the other side of this very short break. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and this is our Power Prep segment now. We have our research team joining in with to tell you what the trade setup is looking like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. Hormaz, let me come across to you first up. What is the market setup looking like today?
The market setup is looking for hope at the moment, and we are entering 2 very critical days of the week, with considering the Nifty Bank expiry today, the Nifty expiry tomorrow. But yesterday's trading session was nothing to write home about. The Nifty and all of the sectoral indices ending lower. The Nifty is now down 700 points from the peak of 22,526 that it had made. Fell to a 1-month low yesterday. And the only difference between Monday and Tuesday's session was that Monday we had Reliance to offset the losses that the heavyweights were putting in. Yesterday, Reliance was also among the losers, which added to the pressure on the Nifty. So that was the difference. The Nifty Bank as well. Today is the weekly expiry, an important day for the Nifty Bank. It's down for 8 days in a row now, and it has also corrected almost 1,600 points from the recent peaks that it made, and now it's at the lower end of that 46,300 to 46,500 support range. Both Nifty and Nifty Bank, as a result of this fall, are now down 3% each from their respective highs that they made. All sectoral indices, as I said, ended lower, with FMCG, IT, Pharma, all of them adding pressure to the indices. But what next now for the market? Now, analysts that we spoke to, now that the 21,850, 900 support is violated for the Nifty, analysts are expecting that the Nifty might move down to as low as 21,500, which has been a long-term support. But the Nifty Bank remains locked in a 46,000 to 47,000 range. Today is the big day for also because of the Fed decision that comes in later tonight. We'll react to it tomorrow morning. And the US markets, in anticipation of that, ended higher yesterday. The Asian markets are mixed though this morning, but the Gift Nifty is indicating a slightly positive start for our market. The other good bit today though, today is exactly a year to which the Nifty bottomed. So it's actually a hopeful setup, as I say, for the markets today. Back to you.
Okay, all right. So the Gift Nifty is surging from the lows, at least the implied open is what I would say. But we'll see which way things go. Vamakshi is joining us now. She'll talk about all the stocks in news today. Hi, Vamakshi.
Well, good morning, Sonal. Let me first start off with TCS. This counter will be in focus after central bank in US has selected TCS banks to modernize its core technology. Also, watch out for Aurobindo Pharma because the company has received US FDA nod for mometasone nasal spray. The product is expected to be launched in the first quarter of FY25 and has a market size of $44.5 million. Vodafone Idea, also watch out for this counter. ATC Telecom is expected to convert optionally convertible debentures amounting to 1,440 crores in into equity shares. GPT Healthcare reported its numbers. Revenue saw an uptick of almost 4%. Margins came under a tad bit of pressure from 22% to 21.7%, but the net profit has surged by almost 37%. Yes Bank has concluded transfer of stressed loan exposure in Katara, India to Prudent ARC for almost 203 crores. Time Technoplast has received Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization's nod, and this nod is for manufacturing high-pressure Type 4 composite cylinder for hydrogen, and in fact it is the first company in India to actually receive this manufacturing approval. Shakti Pumps QIP has opened. They are looking to raise 200 crores and the floor price has been set at 1,272 rupees per share. Now also watch out for Ultratech Cement. CCI has approved acquisition of Kesoram Cement from Kesoram Industries. Persistent Systems also on our radar. The company acquired 100% shareholding of Persistent Systems UK from Epuna Group, and in fact they have executed an SPA for almost 7.43 million GBP. And lastly, we will be watching out for AB Sun Life EMC. The non-retail portion of the OFS that was launched yesterday has been fully subscribed, and the promoters will now be exercising the green shoe option of almost 4.5%.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Vamakshi, for that list. Let's talk about the F&O space now. Manglam is joining in with all the cues. Hey, Manglam, morning.
Good morning. So yesterday was a weak day of trade, no doubts about that. The Nifty was down almost 240 points, led lower by all the frontline indices. The Nifty Bank as well was at the lower end of the range, down about 200 points, though was an outperformer in the sense that it did not fall as much as the other frontline indices. Importantly, the Nifty has fallen below the 50-day moving average, as has the Nifty Bank. So those are a couple of levels that we'll have to watch out for. In terms of cash market flows, you would say that, on a day where the market fell so much, why is it that both the institutions put together about $1 billion? Well, that's largely because of the TCS large trade that happened. So you'll have to look at what happened in the index futures. And out there, the FIs have consistently sold. 2142 crore worth selling yesterday. The longs have dropped to 33%. So two-thirds of the positions are on the short side for the FIIs. And if you take a look at net contracts, from March 12th to now, the numbers have nearly tripled. March 12th was close to around 30,000 contracts, and now it's 85,000 contracts, making it the highest short level that we've seen in this series so far. That's also reflected in the put-call ratio, where it's come to 0.73. Typically, the put-call ratio bottoms at around 0.68 to 0.7 itself, so that's something we need to watch out for. On the way up, though, we have some resistance around 22,000. Why is that? Because a lot of call writers are active at 22,000 and 21,950 as well. But the Gift Nifty is indicating a positive start. The first hour will be extremely crucial, because if there is no follow-through selling, then there is case for a lot of short covering. Nifty Bank weekly options expiry today. We have the US FOMC meet. Typically, market goes long into these sessions. So let's see how that pans out. Importantly, watch out for Indus Tower. That's entered F&O ban. And we have stocks like ABFRL and Tata Chemicals, which is out of F&O ban.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Manglam and Vamakshi and Hormaz as well for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. With that, let's move on and talk about the Rising Bharat Summit. Speaking at the summit, veteran investor Ramesh Damani says he remains bullish on India and expects PSU stock prices to be even higher than at present. He does not see markets being in a bubble and says that while there is always froth in the market, it gets corrected. Convergent Finance's Harsha Raghavan also advises investors to double down on the India story. Let's listen into their comments.
Every bull market has leadership. So the 2000 bull market, for example, was led by the technology stocks in India, which saw the huge technology revolution take place in India. I think what this bull market is partially being led by the PSU stocks, and they're saying that the level of corporate governance has improved in these stocks, that we no longer have the leakage, we no longer have the phone banking that India was so famous for in the prior bull market. So this sector, this PSU sector, will continue to lead this bull market higher.
In the old days, the gap between our bull case and our bear case used to be a wide range in India. Today, we seem to be in a somewhat privileged position where the gap has narrowed significantly. And I'd say with some level of reliability and certainty, we know where we as a nation are going. The bull case is not altogether that different from the realistic case or even the bear case, in that India is looking to be good. Domestic consumption is one of the strengths of our nation today. We used to live in a paradigm where India had 4 metros. Somewhere along the way, we said maybe it's 5 now. Today, I'd argue that all the top 20 or 30 cities in India are all absolute metros.
Okay, all right. That is some opinion coming in. And of course, we'll keep getting you excerpts of those conversations from the summit. But for now, we'll slip into a break. When we come back, we get you all the cues from the commodities market. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Well, there's been a big surge in crude prices. So let's talk about all the commodity market action. Manisha Gupta is joining us now. Hi, Manisha. Good morning.
Morning, Sonal. Thank you for that. Well, yes, we are holding above 5-month highs when it comes to the crude oil prices, holding above $87 a barrel as well. And this is even as the dollar index continues to gain for a 5th straight day because the markets are looking at strong U.S. data. And the street is also looking at a higher exports perhaps coming in from Russia. But the major concerns really are that there is support from declining supplies in Iraq, Saudi Arabia and Russia. Also, the Ukraine drones have targeted nearly 7 refineries in the month of March in Russia, leading to nearly 7% of cut in the Russian refining capacity. So that will continue to support the prices going forward as well. When it comes to metals, well, today is a day of profit taking ahead of the U.S. Fed meeting announcement. While, of course, the markets are not anticipating any rate cuts, but the tone and the guidance going forward from here is something that the street will latch on to. Also, with the dollar index at 2-week highs, that's weighing onto the markets. Also, many of these metals, including gold, silver, copper, zinc, nickel, had run up too much too soon in the last 3 or 4 trading sessions. So some profit taking is what the Asian markets have started with today.
Okay, all right. So that's what's happening in the commodity markets. Thank you so much, Manisha, for joining us with that update. Now we'll get you an exclusive. Visa CEO Ryan McInerney is bullish on India's digital payments growth. Speaking to Shireen Bhan at the Rising Bharat Summit, the Visa CEO called the UPI story remarkable and said he's optimistic on generative AI and is looking to invest in generative AI startups in India. Here's a slice of that interview.
Do you see UPI as competition or do you see UPI as a collaborator?
Well, first let me say, I think what's happened with UPI in India is nothing short of remarkable. I think it has accelerated financial inclusion in this country by more than a decade. The speed, the growth, the adoption, the user experiences that I was talking about, they're nothing short of remarkable. For all of the success that you and I have been talking about with the digitization of payments in India, there's still more than $1 trillion in cash.
So we're not a cashless economy by any measure.
So we still have an opportunity to partner and to work to help digitize that cash. We're big believers in the power of AI. We've been a leader in AI for 30 years, using predictive AI to build our products and services, secure our network. We've been very aggressive in adopting generative AI in our company. We've made all of the tools and co-pilots available to our employees around the world.
How much have you invested on that side?
Oh, I couldn't give you the number, but if you went and talked to any one of our employees in India around the world and said, tell me about what Ryan's been talking to you about in
generative AI.
He's on us. Every team in Visa is expected to have a roadmap and a plan of how they're using generative AI to make their function more effective and more efficient. What's happened in India in the fintechs and startup space is extraordinary. We partner with most, if not all of them, to help them. We've invested in several of them here in India. I'm looking for more generative AI commerce companies, so if you find any as part of this conference, please let me know. We're looking to invest in them. Generative AI could be a very empowering capability for small businesses around the world. It starts to give them access to the capabilities that only the largest retailers have had, whether it's product reviews or recommendation engines or things like that become unbundled and available to small and medium businesses around the world. I think generative AI could be a very leveling force in the commerce space.
You preempted what I was going to say. So you actually believe that generative AI will level the playing field, not make the gaps wider?
I believe it will. That's my personal thesis. I think it'll for the largest retailers and the largest platforms, it will certainly help optimize what they do.
Okay, all right. That is the word coming in from Visa CEO. We'll keep getting you more excerpts and more conversations through the course of the day. But now we'll take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast. Stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.